Hey guys, welcome back. About a week ago, I did my first video review. That was for the Banner Saga. Please check that out on YouTube and on the website as well, and go back and have a look at that. It was a pretty good review. Some technical problems that I hope to be ironing out as things progress. This one should go a little smoother with a little bit of luck. But my face isn't going anywhere. And as you saw with the title card at the very start of this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Dungeon of the Endless. Yeah, so let's just do it. Here we go. Dungeon of the Endless is a curious little game. Brought to us by Amplitude Studios, a small independent developer in France. Dungeon of the Endless is part of the wider Endless franchise of games, including Endless Space and Endless Legend. In this game, you start off as two people crash landing on an alien world, and then recruiting other survivors to help you in what is a mixture of a roguelike and a tower defense game. In Dungeon of the Endless, you are clearing multiple levels of the dungeon by fighting, exploring, customizing, upgrading, and basically leveling your characters to defeat the ever-increasing and more difficult hordes of enemies. I had quite a lot of fun with this game. It's one of those games I've been curious about for some time. I have played Endless Space a little on PC, and I thought to myself, how will this translate to the console? Now, it works really well. The controls are a little bit odd. You have 4 players that you can control and move around the map, but you don't control them directly. You select rooms for them to go into, and then to explore, opening further doors. Now, opening a door equates to another turn in Dungeon of the Endless, and the turns dictate things like how long it takes to upgrade or purchase new equipment for your characters. Within the exploration of the dungeon, things that you would expect like in any roguelike games, such as shopkeepers and chests and random enemy encounters, are all present. And they all happen in this rather engaging art style, this sort of pixelated 18-bit, or actually what the hell is 18-bit? 16-bit or 32-bit style. That's very reminiscent of retro games. I found it a lot of fun to play in general. Easy to kind of get the hang of, but difficult to master. There are many levels and layers to Dungeon of the Endless. As you dig into your character's stats and thinking about what characters to take with you through the dungeon. You start off, like I said, with 2 characters from a limited roster, and then as you discover more characters, you have to then add them to your team and keep them alive with you through multiple levels to unlock them from the starting point. As it's a roguelike, you play the game through multiple times, expecting to get absolutely destroyed. And you will get absolutely destroyed at any turn. For example, in one of my best playthroughs, I was doing really well. I was about 3/4 of the way through the levels. I had a stockpile of resources. I was feeling pretty confident. My characters were well leveled, had lots of equipment, and things was just going really well. All of a sudden, I found the last room in the dungeon, and that spawned a massive amount of high-level enemies to deal with. Even with my 4 guys all clustered together in one area full of turrets, I had no hope. I got just completely rolled over, and that was it, and that was the end. And then, you start again, taking that knowledge of what happened and using it to hopefully do better in your next, in your next playthrough, in your next encounter. There is, of course, because of the nature of the game, masses of replayability. There is a sort of meta, sort of a little bit of story in there, but it's hidden very deeply. You get story beats and conversational dialogues between levels, but it's more like flavor text. For example, all the characters have bios, which I actually found really well written and interesting. In addition to that, the writing throughout the game is a lot of fun. The item descriptions are really enjoyable to read, as well as offering very strange benefits and buffs to your players and to your characters throughout the game. While it's safe to say I enjoyed my time with Dungeon of the Endless, it's a far from perfect experience. To start with, it's quite easy to get lost within the levels due to the dark nature of the game and how you have to power up the rooms as you go. When you're moving through, exploring, I just found it easy to lose my characters amongst all the stuff that could be going on the level at any time. I also found it quite difficult to sometimes get to a character who is in trouble somewhere else on the map or navigate quickly. Now, it could be that some of these functions are buried deep within the game, maybe ways to make it easier to move around. but the game is very poorly tutorialed. There are some tutorial hints in there, but it's not something that's sort of brought to the surface at the start of your experience. You have to really dig through the help and the manual stuff to actually work out a lot of the nuances of the game. So because of that, it does hold it back a little bit. I felt like the developers are trying to encourage you to learn the experience through trial and error, rather than wanting to show you how to do things from the offset. Now that's a perfectly valid choice. It's just not one I necessarily appreciated myself. Overall though, like I said, I definitely enjoyed my time with the game. I'm going to come back for more, because it's one of those games that doesn't really have an end point. You can just keep digging in and getting a little bit more out of it every time you do. So I think on balance, I will give this game a 7 out of 10.